Hi everyone. So in this video, we've set up a patcher before that works in MusicalTime with note values for metro duration and make note duration. I want to focus on controlling the transport and how that can be used to control the metro objects, and just that we can see information that we would normally see in the global transport. So I'm coming back here so that I can open up my global transport, see these things we've been interacting through tempo things so far. So mostly going to focus on transport and metro. And to start, I'm going to expand this a little bit. And if I mouse over the outlets, I can see that it will output bars, beats, and units than the beats. So I can, looking at bars and beats, those are integers. If I look at the units or the ticks, it can show me that in a floating point. Duration. So these things are matching up with these three windows. Now, if I start the transport, you're not seeing it, because you need to ask the transport to, or tell the transport to report that information with a bang message. So every time I click, it's going to tell me where I am in measures, beats, and units. I can stop, I can rewind. Now I'm back, my first measure, my second measure, so on. Okay, I can make these bang messages happen automatically with a metro. And that metro can be set up to start if the transport starts. So I'm going to type metro. I'm going to give it a note value of 16th notes. And let's go ahead and mark the toggle to both for the start. I'll rewind, and now you can see it continuously updating location. Exactly what it's doing over here in the global transport. Every 16th note, I can see the units go by. Every beat registers in, every measure. So I'll stop that, rewind, and that'll be the next thing I add. Over here in the right inlet, that sets the transport to that position in ticks. So ticks just run absolute. You can translate, say, 3,000 ticks by coming up with how many beats that is, how many measures those beats fit into, and what's left over. What I'm just going to do is a simple message that is 0, so that this message will send the transport back to 0. If I start again, I had already rewinded. Now if I stop and hit 0, then restart, I'm back at 1. So neither these bars beats units or my bars beats units up here respond to this until I restart the transport, because they don't report. If I send a bang message, they do. So maybe if I would like this to be just a little more functional, I set this message first to output the 0, and then remember, anything into a button will trigger that button and send its bang message. So now I can rewind. It shows me that I have rewound on my patch, and I can start again. And every time I want to do that. So that's pretty helpful. Let's go in and just say bars beats, and units. Okay, so this is pretty good. It's a little update. Now I'm missing a couple other things that I want to do. First off, I can make the Metro start automatically with the toggle even if I don't hook this toggle up. So I'm going to take that away. And I'm going to add to the Metro what's called an attribute. Attributes are properties of the object. Some of them are common, like border color or background color. They're common to all objects. Some of them are specific. If you want to find out about attributes for any object, you can select that object, go to the reference icon on the right, and then you'll see arguments for the object, messages that can come in as inputs, or attributes. They start with the @ sign. And one of them is active. So I type active and then a space, because there needs to be a value for that activation flag. And you can see as I start to type in Metro, first it's telling me arguments in this help. Once I hit space and I hit an @ sign, it switches and opens up the attributes. So it's giving me help. Active wants an integer afterwards. Has to be a space. And I'm going to say that that integer is 1 because that means true or yes. I'm going to move this over, my rewind essentially. Fix that patch cord. Now, I have rewound. What this active flag or attribute means is that the Metro will be active anytime the transport is active. So if I turn the transport on, Metro is on, and it's updating. Can stop, rewind. Now, if I go over here, I can do the same thing to this Metro. Type the @ switches me into attributes, active, space, 1. Now, I don't need the toggle. And I can stop the transport. So I'll go ahead and take that off, because now the transport's controlling. Set this in. And add that comment. So remember, I selected the object, I select the reference icon, and I can see arguments, messages, and attributes for that object. Typing in the @ active, space, and the value of 1 means that the Metro is active. It's on whenever the transport is on. And that ties that together. One thing that is not synced, the Metro will always start when the transport starts. Transport could stop and start and not be synced on eighth notes. And for now, I'm not going to worry about that. But I can rewind, turn it back on. All right, and that's enough for this. I didn't change anything about durations. That's still what I can send in. Okay, but this lets me think in note values, rhythmic note values, and get this information now from the transport. One last thing, tempo. This is the other thing I'm really working with. I've got to rewind. I get reports, but I'm not changing the tempo. So last thing here is I'm going to add that attribute as an attribute inspector or as a message. I can do it both ways. A little bit easier to do it in that the messages could be It does mean integers could be on and off or set the time interval start. It's a little unclear. So what I'm going to do, go to the transport. And having selected the transport object, it lists the attributes. I can drag one of these into the patch, put it up above there, and it's an attribute inspector. This will change. Now it's an attribute inspector, user inspector. Hook it up to the transport. And now you can see that this tempo matches whatever's in here. So I'm gonna lock my patch, start this. I can slow it down just like a number box. If the triangle is highlighted yellow, I can type in. Jumps there immediately. It reflects this. Stop. The other thing I can do is do this as a number box. Going into a message that says tempo $1. I'm going to kind of wrap around my attribute. Speed things up, slow it down by typing or dragging on it. You see it update here, as well as seeing that it's updated in the global transport. At this point now, I can get rid of the global transport window. I've recreated it in my patch. This gives me the opportunity to do all the controls in the patch without opening anything else. I can see where I am, I can rewind, I can report where I am, I can start and stop the transport, I can change tempo. These two things, there's no real difference. The attribute inspector can receive messages, so I could go directly from a number box and change the tempo here. It's just two ways. It's whatever seems to make sense to you. I kind of go back and forth when I'm doing this. If you use the attribute inspector, you get the attribute name and a number box. That's kind of helpful. You have sort of a comment. It tells you what it is, and that works with what you can do. Go through. So that's good for here. I'm going to stop.